Ah, good morning, or afternoon, or your regional equivalent, and welcome to Reassembly with the Acidic Experimentium. So, today we need to build a supermassive capital station. Now, I already actually recorded for about 30 minutes, but that was just me messing around, effectively. Nothing really happened that was of much interest. Except that I ended up criticizing all of my poor starships for some reason. I don't know, I had fun. I built the Acidic 03, which looks kind of okay. It's nice, but it could be better. But we won't worry about that. It's fine. We'll leave Acidic over there. We need to get going on the sulfuric hive. Or, why is it sulfuric? Let's go acidic hive. Because it is the experimentium hive. Acidic Experimentium. Why am I even doing this, actually? Let's just just get rid of that. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. I know I had plans, but I'm overwriting those plans. Acidia core. We're going to call it Acidia core. And then we will name it when we are done. Okay, so we've got our nexus and we've got plenty of real estate. So, I have an idea on how I can build this out, but we'll see if it's going to actually look good. I'm going to just rely on two-way symmetry, basically. So, when we're done, you know, this, and then that, to fill it out and do the rest of this stuff. But until then, this is gonna kind of be in the up of what it might look like. But we aren't going to think about that. We're just going to build one side of it. And we're going to build one side of it really nicely, I hope. I will endeavor to make it so. So I need to now plan out. So the Acidic Experimentium like to have relatively structured randomness. I'm not sure what I called it in the past, but structured randomness works. And for that, I'm going to employ some hopefully pleasant looking methods, but we will see if that actually becomes the case. I'm going to try to be somewhat guided about how I structure this randomness, or how I make it happen. But again, we'll have to see if it actually works out the way I want it to, because that might just not happen. I need to be very careful about this line of symmetry right there. So I can't put another block there. I can kind of put blocks here. But I need to be careful about it for a number of reasons. Okay. Actually, let's just be cheeky. Let's be very cheeky here. Let me bridge out and see how far big I want this thing. Yeah, that should be cool. That should be cool. I kind of... maybe I should make it flower. Like an acid flower. Like acid rain. Acid downfall. I don't know, it could be interesting. Yeah, interesting. I think I started a bit too early on. Oh no, wait, I can actually use it for my own game. Yeah, I can do that. Now I take this. What? What? Come on, gang. There we go. And then we can start to bridge out. I'm gonna hurt my brain trying to figure out the superstructural workings of how this is gonna end up working. I just said workings like twice, but don't worry about it too much. Okay. We're not gonna top it off just yet. Get it to here. How can I end it? How can I end it? be interesting. We've got these like acidic growths on the side. Not like these. We're going to have acidic growths on the side, as is the point of the acidics. Yeah, interesting question. Is how are we going to end up bridging this out into other structures in an interesting way? Now we can just do stuff like this, but this is not guaranteed to have a very appealing look to it. And there's a certain amount of structural strength I need to maintain. So I'm going to have an underlying structure of... Okay, I'm going to have an underlying structure, but the overstructure... Okay, so the detail will be in a semblance random. Oh wait, what have I done? Wait. Hold on. Okay, so be not shoot myself in the foot. It goes there, and then it goes there. It goes there, and then it goes. Okay, that cuts off. It has to go off there. Interesting. Oh, why am I trying to do it like that? Why am I not being clever about the situation? Okay, better. Right. I'm also trying to minimize the amount of future eye bleed I'm going to give myself building this thing by incorporating a bit of structure beforehand. Okay, so this is going to be what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 spires. With some interesting looks. That's a bit underwhelming, isn't it? Penrose is so weird to build with. But it's half the pleasant challenge, isn't it? I need a semi-modular concoction to work with. Okay, give me a moment. Okay. I'm going to house some phases in these areas, and then some power crystals. Which, yeah, it is funny that I have the crystalline before we've even gotten to the crystalline. The aciduline, who are not alkaline, but dink bunk cha. Very sorry. Okay. The aciduline who are not alkaline. Such a terrible joke. Okay. Good, so that's just the power bank with guns that I wanted. And then one more. Okay. Alright. We kind of lurch out in that direction, which is interesting. I'll just leave it like that. Yeah. Ooh, actually, this gives a very nice place to end it with this. Unintentional brilliance. Unintentional brilliance sounds like a very good self-help book, actually. Or like a very entertaining self-help book. Maybe not a good one. Who knows? Okay, so, why did they do that? Okay, fair. Why? Why is that a thing that just happened? Let's try not to think about it. Primarily, primaristically, we've got some massive weaponry that we need to put in places. And the main question is where to put it and make those places. Where are those places going to be? Main question, I don't know. Because, yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting. It's very fascinating. It's very concerning the way I'm going to have to build this. Well, it should kind of have some big master shards coming off of it, I guess. But again, getting it at a slight angle is going to be tough while making it, because I mean that doesn't really accomplish what I want, does it? I mean, for that angle, oh, whoa, hold on a second. How have I never done this aesthetic before? This little thing before. How have I not done it before? And yeah, I'm being lazy. I'm just copying it over. Because building entirely original ones multiple times will be not necessarily a huge amount of gain on the overall visuals. So it's not efficient to do that, and unfortunately I'm a bit obsessed with building speed efficiency. Not a bit obsessed, I'm not obsessed, but I just don't want this to take forever, and rebuilding that 50 times is going to take effort. So we are going to make this a slight cheat. Well, it's already a cheat. It's a legitimate building method. It's just that I'm not going to necessarily do the same thing. I say as I do the same thing. Ba-da-da. Oh, hello Reassembly music, I missed you. Are these the birthing structs of the crystals, of the acidic crystals? The birthing structs, the crystal formers. You know what I'm talking about. This is where the little spaceships get made, and then they go pop off, and acidic, I guess. I don't know, they're not really good words for me. Yes, okay, so the prime core is not gonna be random. I'm deeply regretting that idea that I said at one point. Not deeply regretting it, I'm reasonably being oppository. That word did not have the meaning I intended. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna have to change this idea a lot. I've got a lot of space over here. I want to use it for slightly more than what it is being right now. But how am I going to do that? How am I going to do that, you ask? No one asked, Labs. I know, but we'll make them ask. What? Exactly. Why are you being evil, sir? No, don't worry about it, Sergeant. Yes, sir. Well, actually, do worry about it. Sir? Well, what would you prefer? Worry about it. Okay, sir. It's like, it doesn't help anybody. Alright, so, I don't know. I haven't built a lot with these. I don't build a lot with these generally, so I'm actually surprised I haven't thought to use them more. Yeah, these guys need like a little. These guys need command centers, I guess, command structures. And that's basically what these are. They're going to be the command structures. Got very odd angles. But I suppose it's somehow efficient for the way their systems work. I guess. I don't know. Hard to imagine. Well, merely because I lack imagination does not mean that such things cannot be thought of. I suppose. I don't know. Kind of like a bad rationale. Okay, so we can have some things with things. Yeah, I don't know. Acidic power generators? Probably going to be the best we can do with it. Bum ba ra bum ba bum bum ba bum ba ra dum ba dum ba da da. And of course, they're going to have acid crystals growing over their structures. Maybe I don't know. Maybe the acid crystals. I'm trying to figure out, not rationalize. I'm trying to figure out how trying to decide how the acidic experimentium work as a faction, as an entity. How do they operate? Why are they like this? The easy way of going about it is to say, well, it provides a benefit. The weird way of going about it is to say that it's the way they build these structures. They have some sort of very efficient method for building things rapidly, but the way it gets built means that stuff is, in a weird way, basically they just let a bunch of nanobots or something. I don't know. I don't like nanobots. People like to run around with the idea that nanobots should be really overpowered and you can get grey goo incidents. But then it's like, you're not really putting enough effort into being reasonable as to how the powerful nanobots should be, in a sense. Like, matter will not just be... Okay. The sort of grey goo incident that I like is where the whole planet gets turned into nanobots. That can't happen for very obvious reasons. The next way you get it is you have replicating robots that, hunt down metal and materials they can use. Which is not gonna be, it'll be most of civilization. But them being directed and not consuming themselves after a while would be half the problem. Granted, that doesn't stop the major problem, but it does mean that if nanobots too quickly begin consuming their own units, because of some disconnect in communication, some problem. Identification is not an easy thing. Okay, so I don't know why I'm laughing at that. It's just, I don't know, identification's on. Yeah, so it's kind of like zombies. Half the problem is that the zombies would just eat themselves. Well, not themselves, but other elements if they were of that sort of cognitive state where they're aware of things to hunt. Because at that point they're not intelligent anymore, and they're not even animal because they have basically no self-preservation structure. So they would just be like it's like there's a lot of funny ways that you can have problems with those ideas, but they're all entertaining nonetheless. So who frankly cares? But I like finding funny ways to give things that most sci-fi, not most people, I'm being mean there, but most sci-fi would try to make it powerful because it is a cool concept. It's awesome, but nonetheless, it's like what I find more entertaining is finding ways to make those things be more realistically limited in their capability and to give them real problems. Because it's like a lot of people say, that good character needs character flaws. It's like incorrect. They don't need bad character flaws. Good characters will have character flaws because of the way they end up doing things and their own rationales. Basically, how well have you thought out the character? Because actions have their consequences and all these other things. You shouldn't be aiming to give a character a set character flaw necessarily. You should work it into the narrative in a way that, works out. So it's interesting. I don't know. I'm not a writing guru, but from the small amount of stuff I have written and have enjoyed, and then the ways and the people that I've seen writing and other stuff, and the people that have talked about writing, it's interesting. It's just I don't know. I'm just amused by the whole concept. Because in the end, yeah, writing is really fun. I know I've been looking at games, the games that I've enjoyed a lot, and the way that they, as a game, make real use of the game that they have in terms of their story. Their story plays out very much in line, obviously, with the game, because the game is a fantasy, and so you want a story that involves that fantasy and really works with it, and lets you have more of the fantasy. And I think that's how you end up failing with a game's narrative, at least. Or at least not having a very good success, is that you make a game narrative that does not engage with the game's fantasy or the game's mechanics and systems. It's interesting. Just, theory work, things to think about. since I am attempting to make a game. It'll be very interesting to see if I can actually be somewhat productive about the things that I'm thinking about, because I'm trying to figure stuff out to not waste my own time, to actually have a semblance of strategy in my mind while I try to go towards a game narrative, because it's not necessarily it's not an easy job. Obviously it's not. Writing narratives are difficult because like any job, you should need to do it well. You can't half-ass it. Well, you can't half-ass it and expect good results. That's just normal. That's just life. But I mean, some stuff you can half-ass, but that's beyond the point. Some people half-ass stuff and get very far in life, but nonetheless, it's because they, in a sense, thought about the way they were half-assing it, which I guess is more important to think about. It's like you can dedicate a lot of time to something and pour all your time and effort into it, and then realize that what you made was not good enough. And that's terrible. So I'm attempting my hardest not to make sure that that's not going to be the case, but just a man, so what can I do? As things go. So we shall make as many preparatory strategies as we can, and the rest, well, we shall hope and pray, shall we not? Hope and pray. Okay, I think I'm actually starting to figure out how this must look. I'm just building. I'm actually just not trying to fight because my problem at the start was that I was trying to fight the build. My problem is that I'm so. My problem is that I try to fight the Penrose Zero instead of working with it, and that's actually a massive problem. Hello? Oh wow, that actually hits into itself. That's annoying. Yeah, let's do it like that. If they will not have it that way, we will have it this way, will we not? Oh, yes, yes. Don't ask me why I'm French, but I'm French now, so it's just as it is. Oh, okay, well, it's not looking all... Okay, well, this is a problem, but... We'll fix it. Oh, okay, that's not looking half bad, actually. That's actually not looking half bad. It's reminding me very much of the Midorians. Because I need to just make a video on the Forever Cold War. I need to just do it. Because I talk about it all the time. And I write so much stuff on it. And then no one ever gets to... And I never just formally address it. And everyone's kind of like, what is this weird sci-fi you're talking about? It's like, yeah, it's my sci-fi. It's like, oh, well, we don't care. It's like, okay, good. Let me tell you about it. It's like, we don't want to know, Labs. It's like, yeah, fair enough. I know you don't want to know, but I will tell you anyway. Oh, shame. That's as it is sometimes. I should just record myself reading the Ever Archive. But the Ever Archive, I don't know. In certain ways, it could be boring to get into. Well, because it literally is an archive in a sense, but it's structured and it actually has a narrative structure in a way. Because it doesn't just spoil you for all the things that are going to happen. It kind of gives you a little bit of a taste at the beginning, and then as it goes on, it tries to hint at things without being too obvious about the scenario. And I think in the end, it's quite a nice little. It's also just not a normal way of telling a story. It's a literal archiving the universe in a way that is entertaining instead of, just trying to be informative. Which a lot of things will try to do. They'll just try to be informative instead of being entertaining. Which, informative and entertaining is also how you do good education. Because kids don't want to be there. What kid wants to be there? So you end up with half the problem being that, you need to kind of, I don't know. So it's like, how do you draw the line between telling people about a universe and letting them experience the fun of that universe through the way you tell them? Because you want to bring them up to speed with this universe, but at the same time, you kind of want to give them a full knowledge of it. But you also want that full knowledge to be an entertaining one that isn't gonna, be just weird or annoying. So that's kind of like an amusing sentiment, I think. I'm going to give it the brighter Penrose. Because these fade between this color and, of course, that color. So it ends up meaning that they look a bit annoyingly weird half the time, which is really tragic. I should just make a mod that makes them a static color as the darkest color, because then that would actually be really nice if they were just static. But the problem is they phase between the two, so putting them into a chromatic is very difficult. Anyway, so the Forever Cold War. I don't know. I wrote it when I was playing Battleships Forever. I was playing Battleships Forever, and Battleships Forever has a ship editor. So this was before I knew Reassembly existed. Obviously, it was long before Reassembly, and so the Forever Cold War in a sense did exist before I found Battleships Forever, but only in certain chunks. Like the LSN existed, but they didn't really have a full name. They didn't have a full name before I kind of spent some time trying to decide what their name should be. They were just the LASN. I was like, okay, so sounds pretty nice. Yeah, it sounds like a respectable entity. I think the first was LSN was the last. No, it was never. The first was. I think it was something along the lines of. Yeah, it must have been actually. I think it was always the L. I think was always last. Last something Neodirtum, and that's where Neodirtum came from, which is what is the name of my Discord server is Lapsus Southern Neodirtum, and a Neodirtum is a team, a group, an army. It's just a group basically in the Aporian language. Aporian, I guess. I don't know. Aporian. Which, yeah. Also, I enjoyed making a little language. It's not very complex. It's got like it only has really a few words, which is tragic. But it has a few words, and that's what's nice about it. It's got ML. It's got ML, which is glory, which if used in a sentential structure can be used to mean glory too, like ML captain or something. And then, of course, there's Vidi Virendi, which is, forever we are victorious, which is a very LSN phrase, very Aporian. And that's, it's kind of interesting how that kind of ends up going. Because in the end, I had a lot of fun with my universe, because I just made stuff. And, that's a lot of the fun. But I made stuff that was, in my own attempts, trying to be different to the way other sci-fis did it. Because, like, a lot of sci-fi tries to not. Okay, so There are people who are working and have a job to fill, and have a deadline to meet, and really want to make their own universe, but the people in charge have a certain idea about how the universe's law should work. So, when they go about writing how their sci-fi universe works, they generally have someone over their shoulder saying, I don't really want it like that, I want it more like this. So they could make a more interesting thing, but it ends up being a little bit samey, and then you kind of have repeating styles in a sci-fi. I mean, much like you would have repeating styles in a fiction. I mean, there's not too much, in a sense, that you could sci-fi about. And that's where you're wrong, much like you would be wrong about fiction. Fantasy. Thank you. So like, like magic and all that stuff. That's where you'd be wrong. You can have a lot of fun with that stuff. You just need to try and discover some different ways of portraying that same system with much more interesting depth and matter to it. I'm not saying the Forever Cold War is a superior sci-fi universe. I don't know. Who knows? That's up to critics 20 years in the future to say. But I like it because I attempt to be reasonably imaginative about how things end up working, and how factions and events and weapons and starships end up working and being built. And I mean, like, the starships in the Forever Cold War don't have engines. They don't have engines. They have no ion trail. There's nothing, because their engine system is a drive in the very middle of their ship that literally just doesn't warp time and space, but like it moves you through gravitic and magnetic means. And even though it's not actually like a proper physics possibility for obvious reasons, but nonetheless I like it, and it's kind of I don't know, it's interesting to have a sci-fi universe where there aren't thrusters. I'm sure there are universes like that, but they're just, I don't know them, so who cares, unfortunately. Yeah, so it's interesting. And just that kind of having fun with a sci-fi universe where you really just don't care about what people think, and you make your darn rules and you make them cool. I think that's my methodology. I make my rules and I make them very entertaining. At least that's the attempt. Is there any way to join this together? No, there is not. These leave me very unsatisfied. Like, where this stuff exists, and then these things, and it's like, I don't like that at all. Yeah, I'm gonna make a copy. So we've got a couple copies. I'm gonna get rid of this because it's upsetting me. I'll figure out a different way. I'll just figure it out. I've got 30 minutes. Well, like I said, well, yeah. I'm happy to overshoot this episode's run length because we can finish the series, and then I can actually just not start another series. So here's a little secret. Why do I start series out of order? Well, it's primarily because I don't always want to just immediately start with the next, so it's because the different series are at different stages of completion, and in order to keep myself entertained, and to keep my starship creation juices flowing, it's a weird way of saying it. I don't know why that's an expression. It's such a weird phrase, but nonetheless, to keep inspired, I like to have two series going at the same time, because then I'm forced to build with different stuff and different colors, and then it helps. It just helps. So when it comes to starting new series, I normally just start the next one if I finished the last one. And I say it normally as if I've been doing this forever. This is literally season 3. So I'm basically just saying, if we work with the last 2 and 4 and 5, and then we extrapolate outwards, then we can understand kind of my methodology there. Is that I don't want to be forced to finish one. Like I've said in a number of times, I record Reassembly when I want to, because otherwise I literally will not have the energy or care to make stuff look nice and enjoy it. Enjoying it is the primary problem, because I've played 1,750 hours of Reassembly. So at this point, it's not all very interesting. which is a tragedy. It is a tragedy, but nonetheless, that's how stuff goes. I mean, video games can only last for so long. And then here I am with the reds, and I'm trying to just enjoy a theme. And building for a theme is really nice. But you know, if my mouse isn't working, I mustn't smack it. That's just gonna make it worse, poor thing. But I just I sadly let go of my discipline and I smacked the thing around, which was tragedy. But anyway, oh, I haven't thought about doing that before. Oh, that's quite nice. But yeah. So what was I saying? something about something. Who knows? We'll just have to leave it. I'm just gonna have to leave that thought unfinished for all of time and space. I'm very sorry. You're just gonna have to deal with it. Maybe I'll answer it in the comments. Who knows? Or fill it in the comments. I don't know. There's lots of options. Ooh, let's just have some interesting build structures. Okay, so we have this. Okay, then we have that. And this. This. Okay, so, alright. This, yeah. Okay. Alright, that's interesting. It's interesting, and that's the main thing. It's got to be interesting, not boring, not weird and predictable, and because that's not what the acidic are. They're not supposed to have. They can't be unordered either. They have to be ordered structure, you know? Not chaos, order, ordered structure. And it's very entertaining. Well, I really just want to talk about the Forever Cold War right now. It's pretty bad of me. Instead of, you know, the Acidic Experimentium. I don't know. The Acidic Experimentium. I like the idea of them being some sort of... I literally like the idea of them just being acid creatures that live with that build buildings out of these naturally occurring solid acid structures that they just mine off of planets or something. They probably seed planets, and a bit like Tiberium. Yeah, we're borrowing pieces from another sci-fi already, and this is what happens throughout the world. The real world is that you end up borrowing pieces from other places of sci-fi, because there's only so many ideas in a sense, but the way you work with those ideas is more important in a sense. But of course, yeah, people do end up just stealing ideas from other sci-fi. Because they're cool ideas, like Tiberium is really cool. It's nice. We've got this crystal, which is basically is in law unstoppable, but in the game is not. I don't know. So, also I like this. This is actually, that's kind of a cool little effect there. It's kind of these little acidic spores, acidic growths. But yeah, not like Tiberium, more like cultured Tiberium, which you have to help grow. So I guess like normal crystal in a sense. And then they take that. So they actually don't. Okay, no. They have buildings. They have their space station as a base structure, which they probably just grow them from like a single crystal on an asteroid. When it's done, they pop it off, and that's kind of the skeleton of the. They probably have like different types of acid crystal compositions that result in different sorts of formulations and scales. So they probably have some base sort of crystal element combination that, when seeded, forms these very nice long lines with these, you know, so these would be the older segments and the younger segments, and kind of builds in a layer. Maybe it is actually just a layer across the ground, and they have it in facilities, and then when they're done, they literally just, the facility is built such that the crystal layer grows along it. So when it's done, you have a completely flat thing bottom top. But I mean, crystal goes flat anyway, so the main thing is just getting it to go in a straight line that is structurally capable for a star station, for a stellar space station. But I mean, this stuff is really weak, so it would make sense if it was some sort of weird, arbitrary acid crystal. The next thing to deal with is... Yeah, so, good. So they have their space station system structural build out. And then from there, to fabricate additional rooms and things, they literally just seed these another type of crystal, or maybe the same, but this would seem a lot less organized than the station variety. So they see these secondary types, which then grow, and they literally just hollow the whole thing out and turn it into a thing. And these crystals are very strong, but again, they're crystal. They're pretty weak, actually, relative to a proper hull composition. But maybe this faction never discovered steel or something, or some very critical materials. Then you might ask, how do they have lasers? I don't know. Well, you know, you don't need steel to have copper. So, yeah, you don't need iron to have copper. But I mean, iron is so very, very... But I mean, zinc and other stuff to turn it into, well, stainless steel. But anyway, it's off topic. But, so they... Yeah, you see, this doesn't... It's not... Yeah, so I don't want big superstructural 2x2s that are too compository, because then they'll look a bit too much like the base structure, and that ruins the aesthetic. So yeah, they literally grow out rooms and then hollow them out and turn them into whatever they need, which is pretty cool, I think, as a concept. I think it's actually a really cool concept that they don't have iron or stuff, or they just literally it's easier. It's easier, it's cheaper, there's a far less danger of loss of life, and quite frankly, they just have no reason to make it any better, so they haven't. Which, I mean, is something that happens in the normal world anyway. Topical. It's not topical at all. What am I saying? It'll always be topical, because that's humanity. That is human sin, my friend. The structural repetition of ideas, simply due to the simple fact that it is cheaper, more efficient, takes less energy. We can be a bit more lazy. This is the human method. I don't know why I go German when I assess humanity's problems. I'm enjoying it. Listen. I don't know. So, I'm having lots of fun. Talking and building acidic stuff is a lot of fun for me right now. The Acidic Experimentium has now rattled my brain structure. It's very good. I'm starting to build some interesting stuff, hopefully, of relative quality. I don't like this being thick. Have a little crystal at the top. Nice. Okay. Yeah. So the acidics do that. They probably... Actually, you know what? So, here's another thing I always like to do in my sci-fi. I don't like to have aliens, because aliens are kind of a cop-out. Why? Because they end up just kind of being a weird utopian or non-utopian version of humanity. And that's kind of just boring. It's really just boring. So, the way I normally do it is I say I normally do it. With my one sci-fi, and generally with the sci-fi I like to make, I don't have aliens, and I just have it be humans. And so this is probably some people that discovered a planet, or many places, discovered in general the concept of these very cool crystals, and just found them as a very efficient method of construction. And this planet probably, for some reason, these people forgot how to make... I mean, they know how to refine materials, evidently, but I don't know, it's weird. But listen, I find the idea funny. I guess if you do build the whole thing out of crystal, it will be airtight. And you will be able to look through it, which would be really nice. Actually, that kind of make it hard to see if you have openings in places. Huh. Yeah, you see, it's a very interesting idea to build the thing out of crystal. There's a lot of problems, but this is what the raids do. So the raids do that. Shame. Aliens can be fun if you do them properly, but then you need to, like... I don't know. You need to just not be weird about them. If you want to do them. Okay, I mean, listen. It's not great, but it's not bad, and I think that's the thing I've been aiming for right now. Because I'm not entirely inspired with the Penrose palette. Because I like to build in straight lines, which is really much my problem. But I don't actually like to build in straight lines, but I do like to build in straight lines. So it makes I don't like to build in straight lines. What am I saying? I'm trying to justify my lack of an interest in, not a lack of an interest, but a lack of a comfort in the way that I'm building this structure right now, because I'm struggling a bit, primarily because I don't feel great about it. The feel of building with Penrose is very annoying. It's like I want to get somewhere, but I'm not always 100% sure how to do it because I'm not really that familiar with Penrose. Even though I've built with that a lot, I never feel familiar with it. Okay, let's just put down drones and get some stuff and get this thing to cost a significant portion of our production value so that it can actually be worth something. Then I will copy it over. It's kind of an underwhelming station perhaps, but I think it's fine. This should come out of the other portion over here, but oh, I know why it couldn't. Well, why it didn't. Okay, that's gonna be fixed. Much better, much better. Good. All right, I like that. And then we have the factory, and then we'll have a bit of anti-missile laser, anti-missile laser, anti-missile laser. Well, we actually can't have it there. Anti-missile laser, anti-missile laser, anti-missile laser, phaser, 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 phaser. Anti-missile laser, 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 anti-missile lasers, anti-missile lasers until he's done. Because that's how Missile Laser Man works. Now we'll add some struct just to have generators sit on. Very cool. So it's not just a large arbitrary bank of generators. It's kind of, I mean, listen. Arbitrary relative. Relatively speaking, arbitrary. Bombado. Bombado. Probably won't have enough power, but that doesn't really worry me all too much. Okay, so let's give this actually an assembler over here, because that's going to be pretty important. We'll put a Tempest like there. Cover that over. Cover that over. Oh, it's going to clash with that. It's fine. Give it an ejection parameter. Ejection. And then we will... should give it more. Very good. Okay, 2880, which means that when combined we will reach over 8,000. And my job will be done. And then we can call it quits. Not quits, but we can call it complacia on this series. Because building with Penrose is very difficult. It's very difficult. The people who can build very well with it, I could be one of them, but I don't have the energy to do it. And it looks like a giant square. Darn it. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Also, there's an interesting little docking zone here, which I think is kind of cool. Okay, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. So I'm leaving that as the case. Putting it here. I need which is my resource heavy capital construction vessel? This thing. Yeah. Which is still not 8,000, which is really sad. It should have an 8,000 variant, should it? Shouldn't it? V5. It shouldn't have an 8,000 variant. I don't know where to add on to it. It's pretty much really, really nice. I don't want to add on to it. I mean, I can't. I don't want to. I don't want to, mate. It's too nice. Adaption Swarmer. You're kind of okay. Poor Adaption Swarmer. I didn't make it very well, so really that's my own fault, and I'll just have to deal with it. For all of time and space, I'll just have to deal with it. That's all right. Good. Let's just do that. Why am I umming? Because it sounds kind of pleasant to me. I don't know why umming goes, it just sounds nice. Um, 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 um. Pull back, pull back. We are carrying very crucial, we do have a backup, thank you. So we're carrying very crucial, we do have a backup, right? Good. Data points. Hit those enemy ships. Oh, drone. Dronoric swarm. Drone level. Just save your point defense, to be honest. That's an Owl Feathers joke. One day on the Reassembly Discord, we were talking about point defense level. There was a discussion about point defense levels, and at some point, someone was just posted a ship that was just completely point defense, and Owl Feathers said something along the lines of, "Point defense level, just save your missiles." To be honest, I found that really funny. It's pinned, because I am the certified pin lord of the Reassembly Discord. Primarily because I do it far too much. I like to cement certain elements of history. And, much to everyone's dismay. It's the Pin Man again. Here he comes. And, it's like, listen, I just like to document humorable things for future reference. It's useful. Ba-da-da. Boom, da ba da boom, ba da 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 ba da ba da boom, bum ba, boom boom ba, boom 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 boom, ba da da. Again, I'm having far too much fun. There's no such thing as too much fun, Laps. Yes, there is. I will have you know. There's such a thing as too much fun. So, actually, I could put that like there, and then it would be flat. Do I want it to be flat though? Yeah, why not? Why not? Come on, it's fine. Adaption Swarmer Mark III. Non-corn version. Yeah. We don't like corn. Ooh, my throat's a bit itchy now. Okay, let's gather this last chunk of resources and build the biggest space station. Yeah. How about a treat? You're not going to be able to hear me now, but oh well. Okay. Ah. Let's build ourselves a mega station. As it is. Okay. Well, we're just gonna have to do this rather unfashionably. With a slightly retromorphically adjusted spawner. Good. What? What are you doing there? Fire! Get him out of here. A threat to the entirety of the Acidic Experimentium. Hold on a second here. There's their big station, plutonium. This is the, well, one of the command stations of the crystalline. I guess it's only fitting that we annihilate it before we build the acidic command center in the center of the galaxy. Would only be fair, wouldn't it? Go on, you lot. Build power. Get power. Very nice. And we shall use it to fund the Excidium. The Excidium. Excidium? The Acidic Experimentium. Crystalline have been evicted. And now, it is ours. Aye. Could have been a little bit better, but oh well, as it is. So until next time, everybody, if I may. Cheerio.